Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Attorney. I'm your host, Alex Alexander with Client Focused Media. Today, I'm really excited to bring Eric Wilson from Eric Wilson Law, LLC, a compassionate and caring bankruptcy law and consumer protection practice based out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You can find him online at ericwilsonlaw.com. Welcome, James. How are you doing today?
Alex, hey, man. How are you?
I'm short, bald, and incredible, and I thank you so much for asking and appreciate the fact that you're on the show. So,
yeah, I'm excited about being here today. Thank you for having me.
No worries. We spoke a little bit before we came on, and we speak to a lot of different attorneys. Obviously, the show is Ask the Attorney. And one of the unique things I found about your website, and I want to kind of bring forward, is that it's not just stating that you are a bankruptcy attorney or a bankruptcy lawyer. There's other things you talk about. I guess it's consumer protection practice, right? What part of the consumer protection practice? Tell us a little bit about this. I think we should probably start with the basics in what is bankruptcy law.
Well, a couple of things. So consumer practice, we're all consumers. We're not businesses. And there are different avenues of protection for consumers. Obviously, the main focus of protection for me is Chapter 13 and Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and that protects the consumer from overburdensome debt and bad collection practices, which morphs into Fair Debt Collection Practices and further morphs into Fair Credit Reporting Act. And of course, foreclosure defense, repossession help. It's all sort of intertwined, maybe under the big umbrella of consumer protection legal work.
How long did you get into this work?
So I've been doing bankruptcy law since 1997 and started off as a medical malpractice defense lawyer. And that just really was not my cup of tea. And had a friend who was a friend of my parents asked me to come into his solo practice. And I learned bankruptcy law from him and loved it. And I think the reason I've loved it so much is you get to deal with everyday issues for individuals, and there's a high degree of satisfaction in helping those people overcome problems and situations that are burdening their life.
I could definitely see the difference, even in your countenance, right? So when I speak to most individuals who are in, let's say, the PI sector, right, or especially family law, that's the hardest. They're not always as upbeat, because all the things they do weigh on them. And I could see where you're able to help someone, truly help someone in what you're doing, that you don't have it as, it's not a weight upon you. You're actually probably feel pretty good about what you do.
Yeah, actually, I really do. And, I'm not going to say that every day is not, there's difficult days, because you start dealing with problems, and that's what an attorney typically does, is problems day in and day out. But the financial problems that people face, either for their own mistakes or mistakes not of their own making, it permeates and affects everything about their life. If your finances are not square, then your relationships are going to suffer, your health is going to suffer. And the bankruptcy code is designed to relieve people of debt obligations. And I feel very passionate about the bankruptcy code and the protections that it affords, and get my clients not to feel bad or guilty or morally corrupt for seeking help underneath this really powerful piece of law. And the difference that you see someone when they walk out or walk in versus walking out, and they know that there's going to be a solution and a light at the end of the tunnel, is extremely satisfying, to say the least.
Do you foresee, or have you seen an increase or an uptick in your business in the last, let's say, 12 months or so, based on what may have happened to the economy in the previous 36 months?
So funny thing is you would have thought, at least by listening to media, that the last several years have been awful. And they have, don't get me wrong. But bankruptcies the last 2.5 years have been the lowest levels in quite some time. My business is probably right about 50% right now. Having said that, I think we're starting to see the beginnings of potentially a bankruptcy boom. And That's because all the money is dried up, the extra help is dried up, jobs have dried up. Creditors are now going to start being more aggressive now that their hands are not being tied by certain government legislation or orders. So I would think by the end of this year, bankruptcies will be back to where they were pre-COVID.
We don't have a lot of time here. First of all, I want to thank you for being on the show today, but I want to reach out to everyone out there. If you're seeing this, and obviously if you're within the state of Alabama and anywhere near Tuscaloosa, obviously I want you to get a hold of Eric Wilson Law. You can find him online at ericwilsonlaw.com or right here at iwantobuzz.com. Do something good for yourself. Do something good for others.